Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the 2Us of 2Us Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at 2usfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our 2Us Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode.
Good morning, Marsha.
Good morning. I have my coffee.
Okay. I've had mine. I still feel a little bit foggy, though, this morning. I actually feel like I sound a little froggy this morning, but I don't know.
What were you doing last night?
Well, we had a party at the house, a faculty party.
Oh, what fun.
Mm-hmm, it was great. It was sponsored by our faculty association, our union, hosted here at the house. And it's been a long time since we've had a faculty party at the house. We used to do it quite often, as you probably remember. Mm-hmm. But it's been quite a while. But this one was really fun. It was actually in commemoration of the 10th anniversary of our very successful strike that we had.
Well, I can't believe it's been 10 years.
I know. It's hard to believe for me, too. So, yeah, we had the newspaper articles from the time period, all posted. Well, not all of them, because there were lots. We did a really good job of being part of the media cycle. Mm-hmm. And we're in the news all throughout the time period leading up to the strike. And so we had quite a number of newspaper articles and photographs from the time, all on posters on easels around the house. And our house had been strike headquarters when we had the strike. So we had the sign, the big banner that Robert had made that said support Hartnell teachers. And so we had all of that memorabilia and some of the signs. People had saved their picket signs. Yeah. So it was really fun. It was a good time looking back over those, not a strike is not a good thing, but there were lots of good memories associated with the faculty unity and the friendships I made at that time. And so, yeah, we had a really good party, and it was a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah. So, there were some pictures taken. The local CTA office, California Teachers Association office, had some staffers here for the party, and there were some pictures taken. So if any of our listeners are California educators, you may actually see an article or with a accompanying picture of the party and something about the commemoration of the 10 years. They were hoping to be able to put an article. There are two publications. One is a CTA publication that is that's the mostly K-12 union. And then there's another publication called The Advocate that is for the community college and NEA. There's a community college arm of the union, and then the National Education Association. And they put out a newsletter as well. So, I don't know, we may be in both of those newsletters. We'll see.
Oh,
it's kind of cool.
Well, that's more exciting than what I did last night.
What did you do last night?
I went down to the Fifth Avenue Theater and I saw the musical Man of La Mancha.
Oh.
So
I love that.
I know. Anyway, so Kelly.
Yes.
I'm going to tell a story of our past.
Oh, dear. Yes.
Do you remember in college? I think I had maybe known you 3 weeks. Maybe it was longer than that. And we went and saw the movie.
Yes.
And I just remember you started crying in the movie.
Yes.
And you left the movie theater and you're still crying.
Yes. And not just like normal people cry at the movies where tears run down your face.
Like sobbing.
Yes.
Really loud vocal
love that
sobbing.
Movie.
And then I think you sobbed all the way back to the dorm.
Probably.
Because I don't think, did we see, I don't even remember now if we saw it on campus or if we saw it down like at a movie theater or something.
I think it was one of the campus productions that they had.
Okay. Because they would show old movies and stuff. They had a film program or something. Yeah. Anyway, I did not know you very well, and
did I make a good impression?
And I'm like, what should I do? I'm like, what?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I just remember. You're sobbing in the theater, yes. And then sobbing on the street outside the theater, yes. And then sobbing all the way.
I love that movie. Oh my gosh.
It was a really good production, and the music is beautiful. I mean, there's the most famous song, "To Dream the Impossible Dream," that one. But there's also some other beautiful songs in that musical. I mean, there really are. So it was a good production, and just really beautiful music and beautiful. They had really nice voices and everything. But the whole time, I'm sitting there thinking, I've had more life experiences now. Am I going to be sitting there sobbing? And no, I did not sob.
I'm terrible. I am terrible. There are certain movies that I just cannot. I can't. Well, and this one isn't because of how much I love it. It has more to do with memories. But The Fiddler on the Roof, as I saw that when I was a child, and I just have so many memories of that soundtrack. My mom had the soundtrack, and we would play it, and we would dance around the living room. So the whole time I'm listening or, watching this movie, I'm thinking about all those times, and I can just, I mean, I could get sobbing right now if I wanted.
Okay, let's change the subject then.
Oh, dear, funny.
Yeah, I know there's certain songs even that are not even associated with musicals, or they are associated with musicals, that I hear them and I start crying. I mean, I'm not completely. I don't want our listeners to think that I'm completely immune from I do cry, but yeah, it was funny. I did think of you all last night as I was watching that musical.
Funny. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes, anyway. I do love that movie.
Anyway, well, so
let me start by just giving people a little bit of a heads up. I am today sitting in the trailer. Oh. Because of the party, we had the trailer uncovered, and it was open in case people wanted to come and sit out here. Nobody did, I don't think. Well, I don't know. Maybe they did. I didn't see anybody in here, but the day is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. But I'm out in the trailer, so there's a little bit of outside noise, a little more than I usually have. So you might hear sirens going by, or the neighbor's dogs, or maybe the birds outside. That would be nice sound to hear in the podcast, but I don't know if that will actually make it through.
Well, I'm sitting in my dining room, and Enzo is outside, but he may be coming in. And I actually, to tell you, the last episode, I could hear him drinking water. When I was listening back to it, I could hear this. I don't know if anybody heard that or not, but I could hear him in the kitchen drinking water, because he is loud when he drinks water. But he's out in the garden right now with Ben. So, anyway, so I don't know. They may be coming in. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, so
is it a nice day there too? As long as we're talking about weather.
Yeah, it's nice. It's not. I mean, it's not what you're having, but it's nice. Well, we have kind of weak sun, but we have sun today, and I'm hoping to go out and mow the lawn today, or get Ben to mow the lawn.
Oh, but good.
So it's nice here.
Yeah, it was supposed to be in the 80s yesterday, but it didn't. That did not pan out. It was probably low 70s, but it's just so. It's just so nice out here. The birds, we have a whole new, and this is way off topic, but we have a whole new round. Fall brings a whole different batch of birds to the yard. And so watching them is fun. And then I always feel in the fall like we're on the verge of having a squirrel population explosion. This year, the number of squirrels has just gotten too out of control, because they're all out. And they're all, there's several walnut trees in the neighborhood, so they're all carrying walnuts all around the yard. And And then by spring...
Yeah, I'm seeing lots of walnut shells in my garden.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're digging them up already or what's going on. But
maybe in your area. Yeah, in our area, they're madly burying them. And it's so funny because if they notice that I'm watching... They'll keep burying for a little while, but they keep their eye on me. And if they notice that I'm watching, then they unbury it and they go somewhere else.
You might take that walnut.
I might just steal the walnut from them. But then again, usually by spring, the population has gone back down to the 3 or 4 that we have pretty much year round in the yard. So
I have to say, I'm not a huge fan of squirrels. Mm-hmm. And that may not, this may not be, I may offend people, but I'm not really a fan of them. I always think they're sort of an indication of the rat population, like if you have a lot of squirrels, like, I don't know, they are kind of destructive too,
Yeah. Well, yeah, especially if you want to plant, some people have a lot of trouble planting things because the squirrels dig them up.
They dig up the, like if you plant tulip bulbs or daffodil bulbs, a lot of times they dig them up. So,
yeah, here, at least in my yard, I think because there is so much food for them, there are so many walnut trees in the neighborhood, and then we've got the figs and the apples, and they're a lot more wild. Then I think in most neighborhoods, if you have squirrels, it is kind of an indication that there's like too much extra food around, like lots of bird feeders and that kind of thing, which we don't have
in our neighborhood, people feed them too. They put food out for them. So,
yeah.
Anyway, but I don't want people to think that I'm an animal hater. That's not. I'm not doing anything to harm them. I just
Marsha
don't really
hates
like
squirrels.
them.
Well, I tell you.
Well, as my brother, I was going to say, my brother always says, take away those fluffy tails, and what do you have? Rats. That's what he always says.
Right. Well,
so,
and they do certainly cause Rudy to have a flea problem in the fall.
Well, before we get off the topic, we'll change the topic from squirrels, but before we get off weather, we're having nice weather now, but we had a huge storm come through. Stormageddon. The news always makes everything seem, worse than it really ends up being. But we had a couple of days of very high wind. It was actually last weekend. But we did lose power for about, I don't know, it was probably 8 hours, I think we didn't have power. Went off about 1 o'clock, and then it came back on. I think they came around 9. I think the city came in. And I think it was a little unrelated to the storm. I thought, it's related to the storm, so I didn't call the city. Because I figured everybody, because it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon that we lost power, there's no lights on to know who doesn't have power and who does have power.
Right.
Well, as it started getting dark, I realized there was only 6 houses. The three houses, my house and the house on either side of me, and then the 3 houses directly across the street from us. But everybody else had power, and it turns out, to make a long story short, I called the city. Turns out the other neighbors had called the city, and what it was is there was a light pole just outside my house where there's a transformer, and the fuse had blown. And so when they came and fixed it, they came to the door. And of course they saw Enzo, so and the guy said, I have a standard poodle too, so I had to go out and talk to them, and they all had to come over and see the poodle. But they said that, they felt it was actually unrelated to the storm. It was just a coincidence that the fuse blew on the transformer the same day that we were having the storm. But anyway,
interesting.
But we sat for, so it's now getting dark here at 5. So we were losing light, so we got all the candles out and lit those, and then I knit by candlelight. I posted pictures on Instagram, knitting by candlelight on my Afghan, which also, it was getting kind of cold in the house because we have, even though we have a gas furnace, it doesn't run without the electricity to get it going. So, it was getting kind of cold, so it was nice to knit on that Afghan because I could just lay it across my legs and stay warm.
Nice.
And knit by candlelight, so 1860s.
Very good, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of people who were at the party last night. This one colleague of mine, he always gives me a not a bad time, but he always comments about how when the apocalypse comes, he's coming to my house because I have the backyard full of food and things growing and the skill set to to live through the apocalypse.
Yeah.
So yes,
funny.
Your power outage maybe wasn't an apocalypse, but very cool.
Well, it's, when you don't realize how much you love electricity until you don't have it.
Yeah.
Because I kept thinking, we don't have electricity. That's okay. Well, I'll just go, knit and watch TV. Oh, I can't watch TV. Oh, I'll knit, but I can't turn any lights on. Oh, I'll go do some laundry. I can't do that. Oh, I'll go make dinner. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, I'll make myself a cup of tea. Oh, I can't do that. So, you don't realize. Anyway, but enough of that. So, yes. What are you working on?
Knitting. Well, at the moment, I'm starting a pair of socks. Mm-hmm. One of the yarns that I bought at Lambtown, this is the yarn from Day&nbsp Works, Laura at Day&nbsp Works, and it's a red and a pale gray and a dark gray and a sort of a deep gold yellow, kind of bright, not a browny gold, but dark gold, and then a paler yellow. It's really pretty. It's short color repeats. It's not my usual, it's not the colors that I would usually choose, but it it was one of those skeins that just looked so pretty that I had to have it. So I'm starting a pair of socks in this. I've got the other pair of socks from Lambtown are half done. I'm ready. I think I'm ready to do the toe on them on the first sock. And I didn't want to do the toe while we were podcasting, so I thought, I'll just start another pair of socks. So that's what I'm doing. Cool. Otherwise, my projects are all kind of at a place where they need attention. My octopus is done, except he's been blocked. Oh my God, I did take a picture, but I didn't post it. Maybe I'll put it with the show notes. When I blocked him, he looks like a dissection. You know how you like you
right,
splay open the frog's skin, to do the dissection of the frog. So his tentacles are all... What
a horrible thought.
I know. His tentacles are all splayed open and pinned down. So he looked like he had been dissected. So I'm hoping to get him... I think it's going to be a pretty long sewing job. So I'm hoping to at least get some of the sewing started this weekend, but I just this week I did not have time. This week was one of those busy weeks for me. I had grading and getting ready for the party and all that. So the octopus is blocked though, and I think at the last episode, I think I told all of you all that I was going to stuff him before I finished all the tentacles. And I changed my mind because I decided I needed to wash and block him. Because that yarn, what did we decide to have been hanging on a hook in the bathroom for like 2 years?
Yes.
I just knew that yarn was not, it was not clean. It needed to be washed. So I went ahead and finished him up and then washed and blocked him last weekend. So now he's ready to be sewn together. So that's where that one is. I did get back to work on my knocker shawl. And went across the row and weighed it to see, how much yarn each row was taking. And I might not need to use the yarn that I bought to supplement at all, but I made a mistake. And then I couldn't fix my mistake. And it's like 3 rows that I have to undo. So that just got a little stitch marker put on it and got put back in the box. Okay.
So I don't remember from the last episode what color you bought, because I know you bought the extra skein, but what color did you buy? Is it the variegated one or the solid?
Well, it's the color of the solid one.
Okay.
So it's the blue or gray, the blue-gray color.
Okay.
But it's not a solid. It's more tonal. So it's got that same blue-gray, but then it's also got like a paler version of that blue-gray and kind of a white color in it. Not totally white, but, light blue, kind of bluish white, or grayish white. So it's really pretty and it goes really well but I might not end up needing it. So we'll see.
Okay.
I'm kind of up in the air with that. I was really frustrated when I saw the mistake I had made. Well, I don't know what I did, but I knew that I had the wrong stitch count in my repeat. And it's like, oh, shoot. I was just now getting going back on this, and now I have to figure out what happened or rip back about 3 rows.
And it's noticeable enough that you can't just leave it and make it a design feature.
No,
Okay.
No, you can't. I can't continue the lace pattern without the right number of stitches, and it's probably something that I could figure out some way to fudge, but...
Okay.
So, and...
you have to think about it.
Yes.
That's why it's sitting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and then my crochet cardigan, I did start it. I did a row of the crochet shells and measured it, and I think I don't have the right size, so I have to undo that row. I believe I have to undo the row and start again. So that one, with crochet projects, the ones that I've done so far, it really feels like you have to start it several times to get the size right. It's not the same as knitting where you do a gauge swatch. I mean, you could do a swatch, but it doesn't seem to be the same as knitting for me, where you do a gauge swatch and then, you just know that's how many stitches. Her patterns, Michelle Denier's patterns. This is the Curious Case of the Crazy Stitch Cardigan is the pattern. And her other pattern was like this too. They're made for many, many different sizes. So it's almost like a recipe in a way. And so you kind of have to get the first part of the recipe right. And once you've got that right, you go. So I'm not at that point. And it's basically because what I need, like you say about some projects, I just need a day where that's all I'm doing. And I just haven't I've tried to force it and it hasn't worked. So I just need to wait and get started. But I'm so anxious to be started because that's my cardigan, my sweater for the sweater knit along that the 2 Knitlit chicks are doing. So, so anyway, that's my extent of my project work. It's not much. I'm sort of at a low point in terms of projects.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Things will change.
Yeah.
Well, another update on the Frank.
The endless spirit yarn blanket.
Yeah. I'm going to look back and how many episodes am I talking about this Afghan? But anyway, Frank's Spirit Yarn Afghan. I am now on color number 12 out of 14.
Oh, so you are so close.
I'm beginning to see the end.
Yeah.
I'm really tired of it. I love it, but I'm tired of it, and I'm not even knitting on it now. I have been knitting on it while we podcast, but at the last couple of episodes I can't because it's too big, and I can't get close enough to the microphone if I have the Afghan in my lap. So it really is just now a project just in the evenings. So I think I'm actually slowing down on it because it's harder to find the time to work on it that's easy. But, I'm making progress on it. And as I say, I just have 2 more colors and I'll be done.
All right.
But I've also got a new little obsession.
Oh, yeah?
And it's these dishcloths.
Oh, you're still addicted to dishcloths, huh?
Yes. So I've made 2 more since we last talked. I don't know how you pronounce this, but it's capital W, capital A, capital H, Mingit washcloth. So WAHMingIt washcloth. I have no idea what that, but by Amber Perry. I did that one. I did a Spa Day washcloth by Anne Mancine, and I'm sitting here working on a washcloth called Ballband Washcloth by Gardiner and Anne Shayne. And all of these are just free patterns that I found on Ravelry. And the one I'm working on now, it looks sort of like a basket with 2 colors, and I'm doing red and green.
Okay, I've seen that one. Yeah.
So it's going to be my Christmas washcloth, because I was thinking I should just make a washcloth for each season. You have your Christmas one, you have fall colors for Thanksgiving. I could do orange and black for Halloween. I could do Easter.
Yeah.
Whatever. So anyway, I've been working on these just because they are small and portable and pretty quick. We were talking about mistakes. I noticed I did make a mistake on this one on one of the bands. I made a bunch of mistakes. Oh well, I'm sitting. But it's a washcloth. Who cares?
Right.
So I'm not doing anything about that. So that's really all I have to report on what I'm working on. But I have been thinking about future projects. The last couple of episodes, we've been talking about ponchos.
Yeah.
So I've been looking at poncho patterns, and in the discussion thread, people have, our listeners have posted pictures of ponchos that they've made. Mm-hmm. And Jade Chant, Julie, had posted a picture of a poncho that she made, and it's the Church Mouse Yarns and Tees Easy Folded Poncho. And I know my friend Kim, she made that also. And I think the universe is telling me maybe I need to make that poncho, because one day I was driving past the Goodwill, and you get this call to go into the Goodwill.
Oh, yeah.
The universe sends you into the Goodwill.
I know.
Anyway,
my Goodwill doesn't call me.
My Goodwill called me, and I went in there, and I found 8 skeins of, and I never know, is it Elizabeth or Elsabeth?
Elsabeth, yeah.
Elsabeth Lavold silky wool.
Oh, my gosh.
In a navy. So I've got 8 skeins of that. I think it's about 1,500 yards. And people have made that easy folded poncho out of that yarn. So I'm thinking maybe that's the one I should make.
Mm-hmm.
But I also then was thinking too, Kelly, because you made the Mesa,
mm-hmm.
And it's the same, that's DK weight, I believe, and this is DK weight. So I'm also thinking maybe that one. The easy folded poncho, I really like it, but there's no pattern to it. It's just all stockinette. And I'm kind of wondering if maybe that Mesa that you made for your sister might be more fun to make, because there's a lot more things going on in it, and then there's more versatile ways to wear it too.
Yeah, it was not as interesting as I thought it was going to be to make.
Oh, really?
But it's more interesting than a garter stitch blanket.
Right.
So I think probably the contrast, the switch from doing that blanket to doing something like the Mesa would probably be better than mm-hmm. going from doing the blanket to doing the easy folded poncho in total stockinette.
Yeah. So anyway, but the universe, I think, is telling me I need to make a poncho because I found that yarn.
I think so. We need a poncho along.
A poncho along, yeah. So, anyway, so that's, and then the other thing I've been also planning is to do something with the yarn that, the Knockers yarn,
mm-hmm.
that we were just talking about, that you're making your shawl. I want to make a shawl. And so there's 2 I'm looking at. One is called Jalava, and the designer, I believe, is French, so I have no idea how to pronounce her name. It looks like Kalau or something, Beranger or something. Cailliau is her first name, and her last name is Berangere. So I'm thinking of that one. There's lots of patterning in it and detail in it. So I'm thinking of that one. And then the other one I'm looking at is called Asunder by Lisa Much. Mm-hmm. And it's they're very different in terms of the look of these 2 shawls. And I made a Lisa Much shawl a while ago. So those are the 2 I'm looking at. But I kind of want to get started on that yarn, using that yarn from the retreat.
Yeah.
Because I would like, my goal is to have the shawl done before we go back down to the retreat again in April.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's what I'm working on. So that's it for just thinking about future projects.
Okay. Yeah,
What do you think? Are you thinking of anything?
Well, I had been talking about the yarn I couldn't find and wanting to do a cotton linen, another Edie tee. Mm-hmm. But when I finally found it and looked at it, it doesn't really go with the yarn I was thinking of putting it together with. And if I don't put it together with something, I don't have quite enough yardage mm-hmm. to use it for that. So I've been thinking, okay, well, what I need to do is find one that maybe doesn't have sleeves, not like a tank, but more maybe like a little, not capped sleeve, because I don't think that looks good on me, but maybe a little bit wider, a little bit wider than a tank top sleeve, mm-hmm. but not like a capped, I don't know. So I've been thinking I need to start stocking t-shirt patterns, because I'd like to have another, the kind of shirt that you can put on one of these tight armhole jackets or sweaters. You know, I have, it's now getting cooler and I'm wanting to wear something over in the morning when I walk to work. I don't really have a coat. I don't wear coats that much, but I have different things I can put over, like a little jacket or like a sweater made out of, you know, like t-shirt knit material, those kind of things, but they don't go over anything with sleeves very well. And a lot of the clothing that I have has sleeves that have kind of button detail things, you know, they're like 3/4 length with a button detail that holds them up, and just the kind of sleeve that you can't put under a jacket with a tight sleeve. And so I was thinking it would be nice to have something else that was, you know, kind of a low profile sleeve that I could put on a sweater over the top of. So that's kind of in my thought process of, you know, I want to start looking for those patterns. I have a couple of them that I remember seeing, but nothing that I could tell you what the pattern name is. But I am thinking I want to use up some of that cotton linen yarn that I have. So there's that in my mind. But I really have no business thinking about that because I want to do that poncho, the Om shawl with the Neighborhood Fiber Company. So I think maybe I'll give up on the idea of doing 2 sweaters during the 2 Knitlit Chicks, you know, 1 crochet and 1 knit, and just do the crochet one and then get started on my Om shawl. Because if I had that started, I wouldn't have to be doing things like starting a sock because I have nothing to knit without thinking. I would have a project that was easy to take with me and do that kind of social knitting with. So that's kind of where I am. But like I said, I had a lot of grading this week, and so I was trying not to think too hard about what I wanted to be doing with the yarn and fiber. I didn't need anything to help me create grading avoidance behavior.
Well, Kelly, it sounds like we're both kind of in this process of transitioning, big projects that we're finishing and trying to figure out what we're going to do next. And so,
yeah, that's exactly how I feel. And I want to be at a place where I can just jump in and be going again, but yeah, it's not the time quite yet. So maybe by the next episode we'll be making some. I feel like we've been talking about the same things for months.
I know.
Octopus.
Hopefully, by the next episode, I will not be talking about that Afghan.
Yeah.
I think people are getting a little sick of my Afghan.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm getting sick of my Afghan. So.
Well, I do have a topic for us to talk about this episode. I was thinking because of the faculty party and thinking about the strike and the state of education, I just thought, it'd be kind of nice to talk in the podcast about our fiber education and the different aspects of learning and maybe taking classes and that kind of thing that we've been doing with our knitting, spinning, and fiber arts. I know that I have taken some craftsy classes that I've really kind of enjoyed, but then I haven't really used what I've learned. And if I don't use it right away, then I forget. And the nice thing is it's there and I can go back and look at it, but I don't know. I don't think I've used my craftsy classes quite the right way. I've used them kind of like a movie. I feel like watching something, so I think I'll watch the craftsy class, and not like, I'm going to really learn this topic of designing a shawl or working short rows. I really haven't done them with the right mindset. It's not been bad, but I think I could have gotten more benefit from them if I had used them in that right mindset.
Right.
So
what types of class? I mean, what kind of class did you take that you wanted to watch it again and actually practice what you learned?
I think the short rows class I took. I think it's Carol Feller had a class, a free class with short rows that I did, and I really thought that was interesting, and she was making swatches and showing the different styles of short rows. And so by the end, if you did the class right, you would have this swatch of different styles of short rows that you could then refer to and say, okay, well, I want short rows in this thing. And, I think this one would be nice because it will make this design. You'll get a little bit of a design element in the short rows. Or I want these short rows because they don't show up at all. And of course I didn't do it that way. I was knitting on something else and watching them like a movie. So I have no swatch. I have no notes, I really didn't do. I wasn't a very good student when I took that. And maybe because it was a free class, but I've had classes that I paid for that I really haven't done quite the way I need to. I don't know. Maybe part of it is the drawback of the class being online. Maybe it's just too easy to pop it on,
right,
while I'm knitting on something else, just as kind of background listening. And I learned stuff from that. I've learned things. It's not that I haven't learned anything, but I don't think I've gotten the full benefit of the classes.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, the way I learn is it's one thing for someone to talk about it, but I actually have to do it.
Right.
That's sort of my learning style. I'm assuming you're the same. Well, probably most people are the same way. It's one thing to listen to someone talk about riding a bicycle, but then you actually have to ride the bicycle to really learn.
Yes,
so
learning is not a spectator sport.
Yeah, especially with it. Yeah. So, well, I'll tell you the thing that I would like to learn more about is crochet. I love your sweater, the lattice work cardigan that you made by Michelle Dernier. I love that cardigan, and that's actually in my favorites. So I would, I just made the one shawl when we had the crochet along, and I really liked it. But a sweater seems a little daunting to me. Just in the things that you were talking about, there's a lot more figuring out, it sounds like. That as you pointed out, it's more like a recipe.
Yeah.
But I've been finding lots of crochet patterns that I really like. There's the lattice work cardigan that you did. There's a Irene floral lace cardigan by Vicki Chan that I really like. A sweater called the Cairo jacket by Doris Chan. Okay. Those are all sweaters that I think would be really fun to make.
Some of the Doris Chan patterns are really, really darling. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of them are very classic looking.
Yeah.
It was kind of tailored.
Yeah. The Cairo jacket is very tailored. When I was first looking for Afghans to use that yarn to make the spirit yarn Afghan, an Afghan that popped up is called the Modern Blanket of Flowers by Julie Yeager. And that's a darling Afghan, but it's crochet, and I think it would be a great way also to use up leftovers, because you could, because it's just making all these little flowers, and so anyway, I think I got that in my favorites. And then the other one, I seem to be on this thing about spirit yarn and using up leftovers, but there's a shawl by Esther Sandorf, and it's called the Stash Buster Blarf.
Blarf?
Blarf, B-L-A-R-F, and it's a shawl crocheted all these, and it's just rows. It looks like you you knit it crochet it. What am I saying? The widest part.
So,
you cast.
Okay, so sort of like your Mini Mania scarf,
yes,
where the ends are the fringe. Aren't the ends like the fringe?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's kind of like that. So you're just doing these long, long rows. So you start out, I guess you make a chain the width of the shawl, and then you just keep adding rows of different stitches. Is that what you call it?
Yeah,
I guess stitches.
Stitches.
See, this is how little I know about crochet to know. I guess they're called stitches. Different. Each row is a little bit different stitch. So you have all these different, and I think it'd be really kind of fun. You could use even different weights of yarn, probably too, within reason. It would give it a different look. So it's just I think it would be a really fun, easy project, and I would also learn about all the different stitches too, because
kind of like a sampler.
A sampler, kind of, yeah. But it looks really cute, and it looks really hippie and funky and fun. I mean, it totally would fit into, our advanced West Coast style.
Okay.
So,
great.
And then the other thing...
I have to ask you a question. So it's called a blarf. Is that like a combination of blanket and scarf?
I believe so.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll have to look at it more closely. But I think that's what I was kind of thinking of those things. Anyway, but then also, I told you that I got a call from the Goodwill to come by because they had yarn for me.
Yes, and just in case anyone listening thinks that she's talking about a call on the telephone, she's not.
No, it's the universe calls me to tell me that I have to go to the Goodwill. Anyway, but the universe called me one day, you need to go into the Goodwill. And I went in there and I picked up a crochet book. It's Crocheting in Plain English by Maggie Righetti.
Okay. I have her Knitting in Plain English book.
Yes. Yeah, because it says she's the author of Knitting in Plain English. And so I got that for $1.99 at the Goodwill.
Nice.
And so I think also this is another, again, the universe sends me these messages. Mm-hmm. And so the messages, I need to do something. I need to do more with crochet because I got that book.
Oh, yeah.
Because the other book I was using also was one I got at the Goodwill. It was like a little pamphlet. It cost me 69 cents or something. But it was kind of, when you go to like Joann Fabrics and they have a rack of those really small little pamphlet kind of books, and that was what I used to learn the stitches. Plus, I took that beginning crochet class. Yeah. But this is a lot more in depth that talked about gauge and fitting and.
Oh, interesting.
So, I'm excited about that book. So I think that there has to be another crochet project in my future.
All right, well, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I think about how I learn things, I know you tend to say, I want to learn to do this, so I'm going to take a class. Mm-hmm. And I, in knitting and crocheting, and spinning, I haven't really done that much. I mean, I've taken classes, but I don't approach it the same way. I think because, my regular life is sort of the academic world and classes, and I liked school a lot, and I liked classes. That's why I do this job. I never wanted to leave school. I never had to.
Right.
But I do think that maybe that's why I don't tend to do that so much with, and when I do look at the classes like on Craftsy, I don't take them seriously, in terms of getting out my notebook and really participating like a class. And maybe because it's more like my fiber stuff is more like a break from that part of my life.
Right.
But the classes that I have taken, the ones where I've actually gone to a class, I've enjoyed, and I've learned a lot. I've gained a lot from those classes. But it's funny, it's not my first thought. My first thought is, let me get the yarn out and let me get the hook out and let me try this.
Yeah. And I'm a little bit, I like taking classes because I like it's easier for me than learning it from a book. Even though I've been talking about it, I have this book. I can figure things out from a book, but I find it a little bit more inspiring to take a class. And I also think it's a generational thing. I find the online classes are not as satisfying for me as a class in person.
The social aspect is different.
I like the social aspect of it and the interaction, and then also it's like somebody will ask a question that you think, oh, I didn't even think about asking that question, but I really learned something.
Right.
And my experience really with the online classes, it's a little more challenging for me. I just don't really enjoy learning that way on the computer.
And the Craftsy classes have like a running questions that go alongside of the video, which I think is really, really a good part of the platform. And it would be really nice if online classes, like more academic classes, could have more. We don't do a lot in our online classes at school with video so much, where the teacher is being videoed. We don't. That's a lot of production, and we don't really have the production capacity to do that. But I think that platform where you have comments kind of embedded at the time of the video is kind of nice because you can read those comments and see, what questions people are having. So you get some of that benefit, but it's not the same as actually being in the class. And you've taken cooking classes too, right? Yeah. I don't think I've done much. I know I haven't taken a cooking class, but I really haven't taken many classes. like knitting classes. I haven't done classes at Stitches before, except just the market sessions that are just like an hour. And again, those are the kind of thing that you get a little bit, but then I go home and I don't really use it. So it's not enough to really make a huge impact. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it's interesting the way people approach learning when they're hobby, as compared to how do they approach learning in school. Mm-hmm. So thinking about learning and classes that we've taken and the ways that we kind of approach learning something new, I'm actually going to be going to an event where I'm going to be doing some learning, which I'm really excited about. It's put on by an organization called the Fiber Shed, and they have sort of a public education campaign, and they do programs for fiber producers and everything from, the animals to the dyers, people who produce, like the artisans who produce fabric from the wool and all of that, people who produce dye plants. So they have this organization of all of these people who are in what they call the local fiber shed, kind of like a watershed, the whole process. And I think it's local to the San Francisco Bay Area. So I'm not sure I'm even actually part of their vicinity, but they have an event called the 2016 Wool and Fine Fiber Symposium. And so I'm going to this, and the theme of it is called For Love of Place. And the way they describe it is panels and presentations that will focus on regional breeding strategies, biological and mechanical technology, climate beneficial wool, prosumption, which I'm not exactly sure what that means.
Yeah.
That's in quotation marks.
You have to go so you can find out what that means.
Yes, because it's in quotation marks. The true cost of raising sheep and making a garment by hand, the history of sheep production in our region, and a special visit by a distant Fiber Shed affiliate community organizer who will share how their community is cross-pollinating urban and rural sectors. So it's, I think, more designed for the grower, producer, than the artisan, but I'm very interested in that aspect. We've talked about the processing, having wool processed, and the processing, the limitations of who processes wool in the area, and having yarn made. You had that experiment where you had yarn made, and I'm wanting to do that to experiment with processors who make yarn in the area. So I'm really interested in this, and I'm hoping to maybe be able to meet some people and connect with some of the sheep producers. And I don't know, the industry is very interesting to me, and I feel like as a knitter, spinner, I'm sort of on the fringes of it. And I'm interested in knowing more about kind of more in the industry. So yeah, it's going to be held in Point Reyes Station, which is north of the San Francisco Bay. They have a breeding panel talking about breeding sheep. There's some familiar names on that. Janet Hepler is one of the sheep breeders whose fleeces we've seen at the different events that we've gone to. So she'll be there. There's going to be some things about some demos on dyeing and hoof trimming and sheep shearing and wool grading and Angora rabbit shearing, and so that'll be and weaving. So that'll be kind of interesting. So anyway, it's a different aspect of the craft than I've been really involved with or had knowledge about. So I'm really excited about meeting the people. Yeah,
I think it sounds really interesting. I think it's going to be really, you're going to learn a lot.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know if any other of our listeners are even aware of the Fiber Shed or this symposium. The tickets are very inexpensive. The tickets were $40. There is a marketplace. Woohoo! So there will be an opportunity to purchase things, but I think the biggest thing for me is going to be really interesting to hear what people are doing. And I mean, I wish I could have sheep, but if I can't have sheep, maybe I can be somehow a little more involved in the industry in other ways. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah,
I'm excited about it.
I think it'll be, yes. Well, as I said, I think it's going to be really interesting. And just, anytime you can learn something new is always good.
Yeah. It's fun. So this is an event that I'm really looking forward to.
I'm interested to hear about it and that word, too.
Prosumption.
What's the word? Prosumption.
Yes, as opposed to consumption. Like pros and cons, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to find out. I will let you know.
Find out, yeah. The other thing, too, just because this is also learning for all of us, too, but your bees. We need a bee update. What's the latest on your...
The latest and greatest on the bees. Well,
yes.
I gave them, I think it was shortly after... Oh, I know. I said last time in the podcast that I was going to video the inspection. Well, it did not work because it was very hot outside, and I set up my camera, which is my phone, on the tripod, and I would start the video, and I'd get going. And I think that weekend it was like high 80s. We were having our real, those hot fall days that we normally get in September and October. And my phone kept turning off. The video kept turning off. And when I finally took it off the tripod to try to figure out what was going on, it had like an alarm, a heat alarm on it.
Oh, okay.
So it was getting too hot and it was turning off the video. So I didn't have really anything worth showing on those videos. I am going to do an inspection, I think, today. But at that time, looked good. I saw a larva in there. I was not able to find the queen, but I don't worry too much about that because I'm not very good at seeing her. Mm-hmm. They looked like they were, growing. So I put a jar of honey. I had a jar of crystallized honey that I put in. I had been giving them sugar water, and then I finally gave them the jar of crystallized honey. Mm-hmm. And then we've had some rain. So I think there's more nectar out and about now because they have slowed down on eating. The honey's still there. I haven't had to give them more sugar water because they have the honey. They'd rather have that. So I think maybe there's food out there now. They're starting to see some of the fall nectar sources and pollen sources are kicking in. So I'll go in and look today.
Will you try and videotape today, or?
I can try it, and see what happens.
It's not too hot, too hot today?
Yeah, it's not very hot. It's about 70, or maybe not even 70 yet, but it's supposed to be about 70 today. So it's sunny, but it's not like it was very hot that one day. It was one of our really, really super warm days. Mm-hmm. It was funny because yesterday at the party, there were a few people who were interested in seeing the bees, and I didn't open the hive. I've got the one hive box that has their brood in it, and they have another box of frames that they're storing nectar and any of the food that I'm feeding them. They're storing there. And then the jar of honey is on top of, they have like an inner cover that covers the top that has a little hole in it. Mm-hmm. And so that inner cover usually just sits on top, and then the outer cover goes over the inner cover. Mm-hmm. But when I feed them, I put a couple of boxes on over the inner cover, so there's room. There's like an attic space on the hive, and in that attic space is where the jar of honey is that they're eating. It's laying on its side on a paper plate with some sticks in it, so they have a way to go in. Well, yesterday I took people out to look at the bees, and because of this attic space, I can take the lid off and not, it's not like I'm doing an inspection and I'm opening up the hive.
Right.
But there's some bees there to see in that attic space because there's honey there that they're eating. So I took off the lid to show people, and, all the bees are lined up around the edge of the honey, and you can actually see it's called proboscis. You can actually see the little tube that they're sticking into the honey to drink, and they're all lined up in these little rows. It was really fun to show people because, they have this idea that I'm going to open the top and bees are going to start flying out,
Right.
And in fact, it's like they have no interest in anything that we're doing because they're so focused.
They have more important things to do.
They're sucking down that honey to take down into the comb below. and store it. So, yeah.
Busy little bees.
Very, very. Everything's busy in fall, I think. The squirrels, the bees, the birds. It just seems like there's so much activity going on in the yard right now. Mm-hmm. In fact, I don't know if listeners will notice that I maybe seemed a little distracted at times while we were podcasting because I'm sitting in the trailer looking straight out the window at the yard, and I can see squirrels doing things like, oh, wait, what kind of bird is that? Marsha's talking, and I'm not paying attention because I'm thinking, oh, I've never seen one of those before. What is that bird?
Well, full disclosure, I'm sometimes a little distracted here because I'm following a pattern as I'm knitting on this pot holder. And then I have the dog has come in and out, and I'm trying to keep Enzo away from his rubber, I won't say it out loud, his Ball, because I don't care if he plays with it, except so he plays with it. And my furniture, I have these... the buffets in they're up on legs, and so it'll go under there, but he can't get it out. And then what he does is he wants to then scratch on the front of the buffet, and I do not want him doing that.
Yeah.
So I took the Ball away from him at a certain point, but he sometimes finds it. So he's now being really good. He's just laying here at my feet on his pillow, chewing on a rawhide. So. But, I sometimes get a little distracted by the dog. And I'm distracted by my pattern, too. So, anyway.
Well, we're letting listeners have a little glimpse into our distracted lives.
Right.
All right.
Actually, I think I'm going to go outside because it's nice. I'm going to go out and rake the leaves.
Oh, good.
I think that's my plan. And I'm going to take Enzo for a walk, too, so he can get out. Since he actually's been really good while we've been recording. So now he gets a reward of a walk.
Nice.
So, yeah. Anyway. Alrighty. That's it.
Well,
alrighty.
We'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2usfiberadventures.com. We have links for iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube, and others.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2 U's
doing our part for World Fleece.